I'm now regularly streaming on Twitch, so go to the link in the description, let's hang out and talk some Halo. Like all things in life, there is good and there's not so good. But as I'm sure we are all aware, Halo is certainly no exception to this. Bungie, throughout their stewardship of the Halo franchise, did some pretty great things and would set in place some fantastic imagery and iconography, which is part of the overall success of the franchise, which is also why so many people ended up loving and remembering these games so fondly. But over time, both 343 and Bungie did some fantastic stuff and also some not great stuff. So in the next video that's going to follow up to this, we're going to talk about what 343 improved, but in today's video we're going to discuss the top 7 Halo weapon designs that 343 made worse.
Ultimate Halo.
Ayo lads and lasses, Fletch here from Ultimate Halo, and thank you so much for stopping by. A like and a subscription on the channel will help out this video tremendously, and also as well as this, I want you to let me know in the comments section down below if there are any weapon designs that you thought 343 improved. Let me know in the comments and why, and if you do that there is a chance you might feature in the next video. And as well as this, on a side note, I'm not saying that any designs in this video are bad, I just don't feel like they line up or are as good as the original versions. But with that said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. First up on this list is a weapon, like most that will be on this list, has been here from the start of Halo's history and will likely be one of the first alien weapons you get to pick up. The plasma pistol is pretty recognisable. It's small, it's a rounded gun that fires green plasma bolts or even bigger once charged up, and has always maintained a fairly consistent look, and I would argue it started to look better and better as the games progressed. In Halo Reach, Bungie started to put way more detail into their designs and it was looking fantastic. It was faithful to the original designs, but it was still evolving at the same time. Then when 343 took over the mantle, Halo 4's plasma pistol, I would argue, is just as good, if not better, than Bungie's previous version, and added more detail and glowing lights without it ever feeling over-designed. Then Halo 5 came around and the plasma pistol, much like a few other weapons, did have the odd design change that changed the general aesthetic of the gun. In the latest version of this weapon, it's made to look a lot different in terms of the bulk. There was a significant reduction in the gap at the end of the gun, and it also did keep the ribs of the gun, which were lined down the middle. I would say my biggest dislike about this version is just how significantly wider it is. Now, I can see the benefits of this, especially when it comes to having alternative rec variants, because it does provide much more room on the body to add different skins. Otherwise, it just wouldn't be as visible, and it did bulk up in the sense that it didn't necessarily feel much like a toy anymore. I will admit that and make that concession. The plasma pistol did sometimes, from a weapon standpoint, feel very small compared to the rest of the arsenal at your disposal. But all in all, it still looks cool and actually has some really great animation in Halo 5, but in terms of the general design, I'm just not the biggest fan. Next up on this list we have the shotgun, and this goes for the Halo 4 and the Halo 5 designs as they are quite similar. If I'm being very honest, I do think it's my least favourite redesign out of all of the Halo weapons. Everything about it to me just looks stock, boring, and not overly futuristic. The shotgun in Halo has always been a part of the iconography, but since 343 took over the franchise, I do feel like it's just lost its touch. Don't get me wrong, the weapon still feels great, but I must admit, like the plasma pistol, the shotgun started off great, improved over time and kept getting better, and then just took a bit of a step back. In all of Bungie's games, it was a pretty straight barrel, the pump was then at the bottom, and the key thing that did make it stand out was the coloured iron sights, but it did vary in terms of colours from blue to green to red, depending on which Halo game, but to be honest, the colour wasn't what made it matter, it was just that it was there and it made it feel unique. Then with 343's design, the colour was gone from the flat grey, and in my opinion there was way too much detail. I do think the best modern shotgun is the design from Halo 2 Anniversary or even Halo Reach. There's a perfect level of detail as well as the iron sights, and if I'm being really honest, you could have just added the iron sights onto the new design and I think the fans would love it a hell of a lot more than they do now, and I can't really see much reasonable justification for it being removed in the first place. Overall, I would like to point out that the Halo 5 animations for the shotgun are awesome, they pack a real punch, and overall I would say that 343 do some excellent animating on all of the weapons across the board. Alright, look, listen here, I know this next one is a bit of a cop-out, but still to this very day, I feel very strongly about it, and I'll admit, I'm still a little pissed off by it. energy swords still to this day look fantastic. They've continued to get better and better, and I personally do not think there have been any bad ones, and I even love the wreck variants of the energy swords. But one thing I just cannot get over is the Prophets Bane. It's such an awesome weapon variant. It looks great, it's fun to use, and in the beta you could actually see it. That's right, in the beta for Halo 5 it wasn't shrouded in active camouflage, meaning that you could actually appreciate the weapon design much more. But then in the final release they decided to have it so it would automatically put on active camouflage. I know from a technical perspective the design is still there and practically the same, but I'm sorry, I want to see this awesome sword if it does make it back into Halo Infinite. I just feel like it's a massive disservice to the unique design, and the footage you've seen is taken from a glitch in Halo 5 you can do on the mission Battle of Sunaion, which I'll leave a link to GeneralKidds video in the description if you want to know how to use it. Next up on this list is the Fuel Rod Cannon. I do just want to reiterate, none of the models in this list actually look bad. I just don't think compared to the other versions they're as good. Personally, I do love the Halo Combat Evolved version. Halo 2's was fine, Halo 3 looked fine, and I don't think it looked its best until it got to Halo Reach and Halo 2 Anniversary, as well as Halo 4's actually. They were some of the best in my opinion. I have always thought that the top reload with putting the green projectiles looked great, and visually it was one of the most unique, interesting elements of the cannon. And in these versions they actually made it a lot sleeker and it's less bulky, with the top being carved into a curve, and then from there when it came to Halo 5 once again they took the idea to really bulk everything up and make it look very rounded, and the word bubbly, that word always comes to mind when I'm actually looking at the new designs. They also got rid of the top loading in favour of what can almost be described as a port at the back, which still looks pretty cool, but visually I think it lost its style in doing that. And one thing I do like about this version is how the smart scope animates with the projector spinning as you come into it, which is very satisfying. The gun still does look great, it plays well, but I just wouldn't mind it going back to the older design and then still incorporating that awesome spinning smart scope element. That is pretty cool. You could also argue I'm cheating with this one as well, but it was more the intent behind this that I really didn't appreciate in Halo 5. I would argue that the rocket launcher is one of the coolest human weapon designs in Halo. To my knowledge it doesn't really look like any other real life design so far, but at the same time it still looks like a rocket launcher. It's unique and it's part of the iconography in terms of the weapons. Then with Halo 5, 343 gave us the M57 Pylum, which I'll be honest, it looks great, it's a nice looking rocket launcher, but I felt like it was a step back. It just looks like a bog standard rocket launcher with a few more bits and pieces. After there was a bit of an outcry from some of the fans, 343 did introduce the spanker back, and man, it's the best looking version of this weapon, at least in my opinion anyway. 343 did a great job with this version, and I actually love the wreck variants too. If they ported this version of the gun back into Halo Infinite I wouldn't even be mad, because it takes all of the timeless elements of it and improves on it significantly. I do understand in theory that the new rocket launcher is more practical in many ways. Obviously it's smaller, it doesn't need the massive barrel that the Spanker has, but the Spanker just has a far cooler design, and I would say stick to that and evolve the design going forward. Alright you lot, we're finally getting there. The penultimate pick on this list is the beam rifle, and I think my main issue with the beam rifle once again is that it went for a more rounded aesthetic. But hear me out on this one, because it might sound or look dumb, but I also tweeted this out today, and I was the only person in the planet I think that thought the original beam rifles looks like hair straighteners but with more lights. Anyone? Please? Anyway, the design of the original beam rifle actually works for me for a few reasons. A normal sniper rifle in Halo is kind of all about raw power, taking out your enemy in an instant if you have the skills. But for the sound design for the beam rifle, it has a very sharp sound to it, the projectile is a slender beam that moves very fast, so the physical design should meet this for the most part, which most designs do. It's a very straight barrel starting off quite tall and eventually going to a narrow point. But when Halo 4 came out and 343 made the weapon look more rounded and more bulky, whereas before it was a lot sleeker, which I personally think fits the overall feel of the gun. Then in Halo 5 they did the same again, and even in Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer, which I felt was a little disappointing. However, the campaign version of H2A is absolutely beautiful, which was also later incorporated to Halo 5's multiplayer. So part of me kind of wonders if 343 realised a lot of fans weren't really feeling the new designs, so they implemented them into Halo 5 as variations. All in all, it still looks and plays pretty cool, but in Halo Infinite in particular I'd love to go back to the classic design of this weapon. Last up on this list, the final pick. We've just talked about one sniper and now we're going to talk about another. The Halo 5 and 4 sniper rifles don't personally do it for me. I do think they look great in terms of snipers and they also fit well within Halo, and the non-fang in particular is a lovely treat. Just honestly, oh man, that is such a cool looking weapon. But there is one thing I just can't get over from a design perspective, and when you look at it, it's the scope. In practically all Halo games, it is the scope that makes you feel like you know you are holding the Halo sniper. The Halo 2 design I would say is the most boring design out of all of them, and it was a massive step down from the CE sniper design. Then the Halo 3 sniper design was excellent, and the green bars across the front is what I make it think looks like a Halo sniper. Halo Reach then continued with this, and Halo 4 and 5 then started to take a bit of a departure. Much like the other designs, Halo 4 and 5 Sniper do still have the awesome visual effect of picking up a wireframe of the environment through the scope, but it was the full green bar, or any colour you want really, that would make me think it's a Halo Sniper. If you literally modified the Halo 5 Sniper with a longer viewing screen, it would probably be one of the better snipers in the franchise, but unfortunately I just feel like something has always been missing from 343's version of this weapon. So that is it, lads and lasses. That is my constructive feedback on what the designs could be improved with. Do you agree or do you disagree? Let's have a constructive discussion in the comments, and don't forget to let me know in the comments down below what weapons you feel like improved in 343's games and you might just feature in the next video. Once again, my name is Jack Fletcher and I will see you next time on the one and the only Ultimate Halo.
Subscribe now to Ultimate Halo for more unfriggin' believable Halo content.